Hello. Hello.
Hi.
How are you? How was work?
It was work, you to turn around, but it's not. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Jojo's Wednesdays. Days spending with Joseph. I love Jojo's Wednesdays. Everybody's hanging out with Joseph. I love Wednesdays. Cause we're hanging out with Jojo's way. But it's not really about me, it's about everyone else.
I'm here.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for joining. I really wanted to interview you because I remembered how nice you were at Guys and Dolls, and I was like, oh, this has to be fun. You just popped into my head.
That's very nice. I like when I pop into people's head for good reasons.
But there was like one comment, but I'll ask it later because it's like a bit. It might be a loaded question, or it might be like one of those questions that's like, oh. So
Okay, I will
yeah,
just wait and let's get a rapport going first, and then
yeah, yeah. But what do you do for work? Like what? How's your work
I
stuff?
am operations manager for MDM dancewear, so ballet shoes and jazz shoes and
Oh,
all
okay.
dance footwear. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's been interesting this year. For we've been hit from all directions, like getting stock in from China where it's made. Like we design it
Oh,
all here,
yeah.
but then it gets made over there. But then being able to sell, because retail, like dance retail stores, are all, well, in Victoria they're all closed.
Are many people buying because they're not doing concerts and stuff like that at the moment?
Yeah, so that dropped off a lot, and then it picked up when Australia opened up. It was like everybody went, I need new shoes, everything. I grew out of it while I was at home doing Zoom dance classes and whatever. But
Yeah.
then with the Victorian lockdown, we're not allowed to operate because we're wholesale trade, which is not one of the permitted work. But the rest of Australia still want to order,
Yeah.
and the
Okay.
rest of the world still want to order, and we're like, we're not allowed to go in, and yeah, it's
Yeah.
tough. It's really tough. So it's been
Oh,
it's been a
good on
year.
you.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you dance or still, or like what kind of dance do you do? Or
Well,
did you do? I don't know.
growing up, I did all dance. I did ballet, jazz, tap,
Yeah.
contemporary, and then I stopped for a good amount of time, um, and then I restarted doing adult classes when I realised I was an adult and I had to do not join the class with the 18-year-olds anymore.
Yeah.
So I rejoined like adult ballet and tap. But I've been shit during this lockdown. Like I've got my kids here and they're doing classes almost every day in the lounge room on Zoom, and every time
Yeah.
it comes to 6:30 at night and there's a class I can do, and I just can't.
Yeah.
There's some kind of blockage stopping me from just going on Zoom and doing jazz. I was doing some jazz technique and tap is what I was doing up until it
Do,
wasn't allowed in person anymore.
do you kind of feel like it's something to do with the space you're in? Like if you're in that, or do you think like at home you're kind of
Yeah, because
it's
at home I'm mum, and so
yeah,
if I go and lock myself in another room and they need me or something, like I just feel like I can't completely
yeah,
let
you kind of got
go.
to switch your hats or whatever you
Yeah,
call it.
but I think it's a combination of that being completely exhausted by the end of the day as well. Whereas when I was doing it before, I was at work, and then I would drop some other people at wherever they need to go, and then I drive to where I need to go. So I was already out and I was already doing. But if I'm already at home and I'm already sitting, I have to like psych myself up to change gears, and I find that hard too.
Yeah,
So
because I find
yeah,
like even when I'm at home, because I write a lot of music kind of thing. When
yeah,
I'm at home, I find it harder to write music, even if I'm in my own room kind of thing and blocked off. I still do like find it harder to write music than if I were either out outside in general or kind of in a space that didn't belong to me or had some kind of a neutral feel,
yeah,
because it's less for me, it's less emotionally guarded. And I sometimes do feel like if I've got family and they're listening to the songs that I'm making at the time, then I'm like, what if
yes.
they
what are they listening? They're like, what is he doing? What is that line he's singing? What? Yeah. Oh, well, I actually feel better that you say that, because I thought everybody in Victoria is like Zoom yoga and Zoom Pilates and we're all doing, and everybody's like gung ho, and I'm this odd one out who just can't get past this wall. But no, I feel better that you said that.
I did a good 5 minutes of exercise out the back. I was doing like, what do you call them, lunges, and I did some ab crunches and whatever, and then I did that for like 10 minutes maybe, like pathetic, but then I only did it like around the corner where the curtains are closed, and like if anyone walked out, I'd be like, oh, I'm just lying down. I'm just
And then you can't walk for 3 days.
Yeah.
After
5 minutes, so I was like, I'm too sore to continue.
Yeah, exactly.
I remembered, like, on that, because you're saying like when you're at home, your mum. I remember this is the question that when you were in Guys and Dolls, you made this kind of comment that you're like, I really enjoy being here because when I'm here, I'm just Kell. When I'm at home, I'm like, I'm a mum. When I'm here, I'm at work, I'm an employee. And then it's kind of like when you go to theatre, you felt like you could be yourself. Yes. And then I was kind of like, I wanted to understand kind of your take on how you differ yourself from your role as a mother. Like, how do you kind of...
I think probably the biggest part of that is because I've moved states a few times. When I move, the way I meet people, just because of the, like, my kids go to school, so then you meet the school mums, or my kids go to their dance class and you meet the dance mums. So I'm Alexia's mum, or Annabelle's mum. That's how they meet me. So immediately I'm the mum of somebody straight away. So this new person gets to know me as that. Whereas when Guys and Dolls was the first theatre that I had done in 17 years. So I had done theatre in Adelaide, and that was my first coming back to it as an adult. I just introduced myself as Kellyanne, and then people got to know my sense of humour a little bit, and I dance a little bit, and you can sing, and so they knew all of that about me. And then you probably found out that I was a parent after some time. It wasn't the first part of me that you knew. Like, it was,
it was. I kind of, because when I come to, like, if I'm looking at your Facebook feed, or not Facebook, Instagram is probably what I see you more on. It's like really clear, like it is full of like your kids, and it's really lovely, because I'm like, oh, she's so proud of her girls, and they're such good dancers and singers, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I can't imagine.
Also probably a little bit of a self-conscious anxiety of my own self. If you look at my social media, you would see my kids, because I am super proud of them, and it definitely is part of me, but I couldn't, like, putting me up for everybody to see. Like, why do people want to see me? Like, why? That I will put a picture of the food that I'm eating, or, you know, not that I do that too often, but or somewhere I've been and it's a group of us all together, like when, you know, I caught up with a bunch of Guys and Dolls and we went to brunch in that minute when Victoria was allowed to go out to brunch. And I posted a picture of that because it was all of us together having a moment. But on a day-to-day, I'm like, why? Nobody wants to see just me doing me thing, you know?
I want to see you doing new things.
I know, but
it sometimes is like,
like,
why would I post that? Like, what's going on? Unless it's moment.
You saw I posted a picture, a video of me singing a while back, and like, you know how long I sat there going, should I? But why would I post it? Isn't that just like, it was really.
It's difficult to get over the thing of being like, is this vain or is this sharing?
Yeah. So that would be. It's funny that you say that, because a lot of my social media is, and when it comes to Facebook, it makes more sense to me because all my family is either in WA or South Australia, or my dad's in Tassie, but he doesn't do social media.
Everyone's everywhere. Where did you grow up? With, like,
Adelaide.
Grew
up in Adelaide.
Okay.
Yeah, but so Facebook was a way to share what's happening. You know, so that the grandparents don't get to be with the grandkids, so here's what they're doing, kind of thing. And then I think that just kind of spills into Instagram as well. But Yeah, it's definitely I don't know how much of myself, how vain am I if I want to put myself up there too much? Yeah.
Well, I'm doing the same. I'm always putting up songs or putting up like, this is the show I'm currently in, blah blah blah. Sometimes just taking a photo of myself, I'm like, that's vain. But the songs, I'm kind of like, I started uploading it because I was like, I kind of want to share this. I don't want to keep to myself. That was the first one. And
Yes.
now, even if I don't like the song, I put it up because now I'm kind of like, this is easier than storing it on my phone where I'm never going to find it again. Like if I store it in a folder, then yeah.
I love you putting up your songs though, because like you get an insight into someone's creativity and things that go in their brain. And if you just do theatre and you do the show and you're doing Guys and Dolls, so you're singing Guys and Dolls songs, you don't know what else you've got going on and what else you've got on offer. And so I love when you share that stuff. It's cool.
Well, I really loved hearing you sing because, you know, it's better to hear you solo than to hear a whole group singing Follow the Fold with some offbeat drum.
The offbeat drum is going to live throughout history. It's my favorite thing.
Do you still catch up with, like, obviously you did midway through, it was the dolls of Guys and Dolls, all the dancers, or like literally all the women of the cast?
Yeah, it was a mixture. It wasn't just the dance girls, it was a mixture of people. Yeah. I love,
like chats?
not as often as I would like. I think something will come up and I'll text someone like, hey, I saw you do this, and that's cool, and you'll have a bit of back and forth for that day, and then, you know, it'll stop for a while, or someone's birthday, and but I don't have much of a relationship in the daily sort of texting or phone call situation.
Okay, I was also wondering, because this is also on the same kind of thing as like what makes you like separate the fact of being a mum and being yourself. This is like literally like my whole thing, like that, because that comment really impacted me. I don't know why, but I've thought about it a lot. I'm like, it's kind of, I feel bad because it is probably now the first thing that I think of. I'm like, oh, not the first, but I'll be like, oh, I love Kell. And then I'm like, do you mind me calling you Kell? I feel like I said it.
No, I like it.
Okay.
Kellyanne is very formal.
It's laziness. But I was like, I'm always like, oh, she was so nice. She's like Barbie. No, but in a real nice way. What Barbie represents.
Okay.
Not the fakeness, awesome. The goodness. And then I'm like, oh, and then I'm like, oh, but she said this thing. And I'm like, I wonder what that was all about. And I wonder, it might have just been a fleeting comment, but to me, I'm like, well, I think about like my mum, and I think like the way that I know her, she's like overloaded with work because I'm work. No, we're all work. And at what point do I get to like see like where her personality shines through, and when she's just trying to actually kind of, I feel like you do actually have to put on some kind of a face that's it's not your true self, but it's like the self that you kind of need to present. Do you feel that?
As a parent?
As a parent?
Yeah, definitely. Especially probably this year has been really highlighted because every single person in the house, there's 5 of us in the house, and we're all struggle in a different way through this weirdness of 2020. And so if I was by myself, I don't know, would I wallow more or have a day where I just sat and ate ice cream and cried? But I'm like, you can't do that, because what does that tell your kids? Like, you have to find the balance between showing them that, yeah, it is kind of crap and we all feel it at times, but also we're going to be okay. So look at me, I'm okay. You know, like it's I don't hide emotions from my kids because I want them to know that emotions are normal, but you can't go too far because they're looking at me to make it through this weirdness and this hard time. So well,
because a lot of the time you do find people who very easily will get into the habit of just constantly being negative and being like, oh, I can't, like no, it's unsolvable, I'm sad, and that's it, that's the end of it. And you do kind of have to go like, oh, I'm sad, but for now I'm sad, and then I can find a way to get over that.
Yes.
Kind of thing. I get that.
And I
relatable,
think,
but I feel like on
I think,
another level is like
yeah, no,
you'll
but
be feeling
it is. But also, I guess as a parent, usually when you're meeting people and associating with people, it's because they're going on school camp. So you're all talking about the kids and the packing and the whether they're going to be okay, and or whether if it's their dance class, you're talking about which competition they have, or are they going to improve this year? So it's all that,
struggle.
yeah. Whereas when I was talking to you, probably when I was saying that, it was like you were actually interested in me as
Yeah. And I don't.
yes, me as a parent, but not that persona of the person who's always organizing and but just like, yeah, a sense of humor. Not everybody sees
Yeah.
that a sense of humor, because I've got to have everything, all my ducks in a row, and this kid and everything's organized, and yeah,
Yeah, you're meeting in the wrong circumstances. Not the wrong circumstances, but the not
yeah,
casual.
not not casual, yeah. And it's all, the discussion is all based around the event or the thing or the child or whatever. It's not based around, I don't know if I said to you, but I'm really not that good at small talk. I
Oh,
don't like going to parties, and Dave, my husband, has quite a few events for his work, and I get this like, what am I going to say? And then there's music, and then and you can't. I would rather talk about your childhood and some trauma that happened, and like get right into
yeah.
know people, than all that fluffy stuff. But a lot of the time, the fluffy stuff is all you get when it comes to relationships with other kids' parents and things. You don't get into
Yeah.
the yeah.
Because it is time and place, and I think I feel the same about like I don't like small talk either, but I feel like I've learned how to deal with it. I didn't have any idea how to deal with it. I had to kind of teach myself to be kind of like, oh, so that's allowed, and you kind of need to ease your way down. You can't just fall off a cliff and be like, so were you bullied at school?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And sometimes it takes ages. Like, I've made a few friends through either my kids being in theatre or me being in theatre, and think that you get along well enough, and then this year, especially on Facebook and things, people start sharing stuff, and you're like, oh, I didn't know you felt that way. Like, but why would I never would have got that deep in conversation with you to find out that your political beliefs or your
Yeah.
conspiracy theory beliefs or whatever it might be, because I hadn't had that deeper conversation with this person. Yeah.
Sorry, that's just I've done this massive Facebook cull, and there was this guy, this is totally relevant. There's this guy that he was really into his conspiracy theories, and I had the biggest crush on this guy. I've never liked someone more, and I'm like,
Oh,
even today,
no.
I'm kind of like, I'm like, you're an idiot. But I hope he never sees this. He's gonna know it's him as soon as I've said conspiracy theories. He's like, he'll like watch this and be like, that's me. Yeah, I went through this Facebook cull, and then I was like, oh, you wouldn't go to the same effort for me as I have been for you. And I was just like, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. Facebook cull is in just like realizing that all of my Facebook friends I don't really talk to, or I wouldn't feel comfortable to talk to on this kind of a level even. So
Yeah.
I'm just kind of like, oh, maybe if they want to get in contact, they can, but not they shouldn't have to see everything, and they shouldn't be able to see everything.
Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot. Wait, I went on a complete tangent.
Did you cull your crush?
I did. I culled my crush, and it really hurt, but it was freeing.
Yeah, see, that's good. It's good. You have to, because that's the conflicted thing. You've got this Facebook group of 600, 800, whatever friends, because when you're in theatre, you do actually meet a lot of people. And in that moment, you want to be their friend, and, not just theatre, but whatever life things that you do. And then you go back and look and think, yeah, I wouldn't talk like this with you, or I wouldn't feel comfortable. So why you're not actually a friend, and why should you see into my soul, for you write the songs that you write, or for me what my kids were doing on the weekend, Yeah, it's now I forgot where I was going with that.
No, that was that. You hit the point. You like hit the point, and then you probably felt like you needed to go further. I forgot. I thought about when you said something about I'm just definitely going to cut this. Where were we going? Because you said that you were from Adelaide, and I wanted to ask about your like school life and what was like growing up in Adelaide, or like what your primary school. Were you popular? Were you like?
I had a really good primary school experience. My brother went to the same school. He was older than me, but he had a really hard time with school, just academic school. And so he went off to a Montessori school and I stayed there.
Was it just you and your brother?
Yeah, I have a sister, but she's 9 years younger than me. So primary school was all me. But I had a friend who lived 3 doors down, and she went to the same primary school, but she was a year ahead of me. So we would walk to school together, but then we would do school separately. So I had my friends and she had hers, but then we'd walk home together. You know, like it was I didn't struggle at primary school. Like I was a smart kid, and I played sport, so the boys liked me. But it was a very typical 80s primary school experience. Like we were just looking at a Kathy Freeman documentary yesterday, and she was saying even, you know, in her recent years that she wasn't allowed to take a win that she had because she was Aboriginal. She wasn't allowed to take the trophy or something. And I remember the Aboriginal kids at my primary school were treated differently, even in my experience. So I didn't know then to think anything of that, but now looking back, it's really clear.
So like when you were a kid, it wasn't like this, did it feel like a massive injustice at the time, or was it just kind of like kind of processing it in this way? It's just like, oh, that's different, and you kind of notice it, but you don't.
Yes, it was more like that. But yeah, now looking back, it was. But my primary school had a real collection of people, so I was exposed to the big range of demographic, like quite a few quite poor kids, and even then, I did notice, you know, if they got picked on, or there might be a kid trying to find some food out of the bin and things, I was always wanting to help them or give them some of my food or take them to the canteen. Like that was always been in me, that empathy thing. But it didn't stop me from having friends at primary school, you know, like, oh, you associate with her, so you're not my friend. Like I didn't have that experience, which is good, I think. Yeah.
I think I definitely had that, but more in high school though. Is more like if you're hanging out with this person, then you're not gonna.
Yeah, high school was definitely different. Definitely. That's why I said I had a really good primary school experience. As I said, the boys liked me because it was still that era where girls don't. I was the first girl to join the soccer team, and there were no other girls, and there was no girls soccer team. So I joined the girls soccer team, and then the first competition, I had the uniform, I had the boots, but the opposition team wouldn't let me play because I was a girl. So I ended up sat on the sidelines.
So you joined the boys team. You joined the boys team, and
yeah. But I was ready. Like I was ready to play, and the opposition team wouldn't let me play. And
that's
so,
awful.
Yeah, by the time I was in year 7, which was still primary school in Adelaide, I was on the girls' cricket team. There was a whole girls' cricket team, and a soccer team had just been started as well. So, but it took, primary school.
When you see, like, because now schools obviously are so much more inclusive than the way they were, like even like when I was in high school, things have changed, which is like it progresses really fast.
Yeah.
Do you kind of have any resentment over that? You're kind of like, or is it just like a good thing entirely?
I don't have resentment. I still look at that soccer match sticks in my brain because I think, what if I had played that day, and what if I was good at soccer, and what, you know, like that kind of, what direction could have happened for me. But I remember, I was just really happy that those girls had a chance, and I was happy to be on the girls' cricket team, and we had a good camaraderie and friendships and stuff. When I went to high school, I'm quite short still now, but when I went to high school, I was like, I'm going to join the sports team. And then I saw the girls in year 8 and I went, oh no, I'm not. Like I was so afraid. They were all giant and I was scared, and I didn't do sport in high school. I didn't do sport in high school at all. I was afraid.
I was mini, I think, until maybe year 10.
Yeah. Yeah.
As well. I was like, you know, you have like I was with like the short girls, and I was like only a little bit taller than the short
Than the
girls.
short girls.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went to a girls' high school in Adelaide.
Yeah.
So it was there was a public girls' high school, so it wasn't a private school, it was a public girls' high school. My dad's very academic and very scientific, so he reads, and so he knew that girls did better in all girls schools. So that was something that he wanted for me, but he is very anti-religion, so he didn't want me to go to a private school. Religion.
Yeah.
There happened to be this public girls' school, but it was so rough. Like the girls were big, a bit scary, and it was rough. And academics wasn't like you did good or you didn't do good, like, and it didn't really matter. So I started off as a straight A student, and by the time I got to year 10, it didn't really matter. Like I wasn't doing that well, but nothing changed in my day to day. Like there was no teachers coming to my parents going, "Oh, is everything okay?" Like nothing happened.
It was just like you stopped improving. No.
Yeah, and I didn't care. Yeah. There was no reward to do well. So then I did change schools for year 11 and 12, and I went to a private school. And it doesn't necessarily mean that a private school was better. It was just better for me at that time because the experience and the expectation was that you would do well, and all the cool kids were straight A students. Like it was cool to get straight A.
It was funny kind of
yeah.
I was talking to someone else about that as well, that usually at school it's like the cool kids are kind of like they smoke in the back and they're like whatever they're doing, but so many people have the opposite, that they're like they were straight A's, but I had a few people say like they were straight A's but they were awful. I'm kind of like, was it that or no? You can call them out.
I mean, it was an interesting time in my life because I didn't come from the same background that a lot of the kids in the private school came from. So I definitely struggled with that fitting in with the Joneses thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were some awful people, but there were some lovely people too. And the drama department was really strong at that school, and so that's where I like got in and found a home and felt like I fit in. But I did make really good friends with most of the girls that were boarders, so they came from the country and lived at school.
As in like that they came from like non-English speaking?
No, just from the outback in Australia. Okay. Yeah, but they lived at the school because their house was 8 hours away or whatever it was. So, but I think that probably down to earth country kind of person, like that's what we gelled, and it was.
I can imagine if you went to like primary school that was kind of I'm just gonna like go off kind of what I assumed with what you said. It was kind of lower socioeconomic or a bit of a mix kind of a thing, then I think that's really healthy, because you need to kind of get a grasp of everyone, everything.
Walk of life.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah, agreed.
And so if like you're finding people who are the kind of people you might be a bit more familiar with from your past, then that would be understandable that why you clicked.
Yeah.
Kind of I heard this thing that was kind of like about the relationships that you form. People are usually, rather than looking for someone attractive or someone like this and that, usually people are just looking for someone that they're familiar with.
That's interesting. Yeah. But it is a kind of a familiarity, because I feel like if you were from two completely different worlds, it would be so different. I mean, Dave and I are from he's from the northeast of Adelaide and I was from the beach part of Adelaide. And but our Adelaide familiarity with each other definitely and we knew it was like so many of the same people. He went to a Catholic boys high school. It was really well known for its footy players, and sports program and stuff, but then my school associated with, you know, the boyfriends of the girls that I went to school with came from the school, and so we actually have this intertwined thing, which if you ask anyone from Adelaide, they always say, oh, do you know so and so, and like half the time, or they say, what school did you go to? That's always the question if you meet someone from Adelaide, like, what school did you go to? And they always suss you out based on what school did you go to. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because I don't know half the schools in Vic, I don't reckon. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always, every time I talk to someone new, like I know most of the Catholic schools. I went to a private Catholic school. It was mixed because, you know, I think my parents had an inkling that I was gay, and they were kind of like, all of his friends are girls at primary school, so if he goes to an all boys school, he is going to die.
Yeah, he needs the girl. Yeah, well, interestingly, on the fact that my dad brought about, boys do better in mixed schools, according to science. So there you go.
That's why I'm so intelligent.
Exactly. See? There's science to it. Yeah.
It makes sense, kind of. I would say like maybe learning emotional intelligence a bit faster, because you've got because girls develop their emotional intelligence a lot faster than men
boys
do, or a lot more soon. No?
Yeah. Yeah, that's good English. You're proving you're a Catholic boy. Education.
I got asked to leave. I did get asked to leave eventually, because I really enjoyed. I only did what I enjoyed. So I enjoyed drama, I enjoyed music, and I enjoyed nothing else. I don't think I enjoyed.
That was it. Drama and music.
But I wasn't good at dance, so I was just kind of like, yes, I love to move. And so I like, if I was given a task for music or drama, then the assignment would literally be done the next night, and I'd just be like, bang, it's done.
Yeah.
And I'd submit it early. If it was anything else, then I was kind of like, it's now or never. So
I think that's so interesting though, because that should be normal, because why would somebody be interested in every single subject that there is in high school, and really passionately interested and do extremely well in every single subject? It's not, I mean, I find it at the school that my girls go to, the high school, is they call it strength-based learning. So they focus on the strengths of you still do all the other subjects, but I think it's in the right direction anyway. If you've got strengths, you may as well. Why would you try your hardest to be so good at maths that it's such a struggle? Like, it's important to know about maths and to use your brain, and it's all important. But if that is such a struggle for you, why would you spend 90% of your time trying to get a little bit better at maths when you could spend 90% of your time getting amazing at, like with you, the music or the drum, you know? Like
if we really focused in on the things and owned our craft, then it would be better than being a jack of all trades kind of thing, that most of the knowledge goes unused. And I think
and not to say the other way around. I mean, why would you make a crazy mathematician spend time trying to get better at drama, and it's just not going to happen, you know? You're not going to make them do a performance, and you're just not going to do it. So why do it the other way around? I just think
so long as you enjoy it, I think, like when it comes to if someone was really awful at maths and then they were like, no, but I really enjoy doing maths, then obviously but I think most people enjoy things because they're good at it.
I think that mostly. Some people love a challenge, like, I suck at this and I want to get better, and then there's other people who are like, I'm suck at this, so I don't want to do it more. Did
what was the most embarrassing thing that happened in like high school or primary school that you can think of?
The most embarrassing. Do you know how long ago it was? It's
like a couple of years.
Like coming up to my 5-year reunion. I think actually probably in high school when there's probably two. One is that I got laryngitis the day before our year 12 drama monologues that were due to be like adjudicated and examined and whatever. and yeah, so I couldn't do it. I couldn't speak.
You
So
didn't go Batman on the...
yeah. So they let me do it 2 weeks later at another school. So I had to walk in to a whole bunch of other year 12 girls at another private school of girls and do this monologue, which was it was a really quirky, weird, like, I can't even remember who it was written by, but it was written by an artist. Like, it wasn't Van Gogh, but it was something, like, it was crazy, weird. Because I had played Sandy in Greece and I had been like so I wanted to do something different and wacky, but to come in and do that in front of these people, like, it was horrendous.
Because you build like that sacred space. You're like, this arts room is a sacred space, and then all of a sudden you're like, no, I'm just gonna go into this. I'm exposed.
Like, I felt so exposed. It was awful. Yeah. The other one was probably more just being a dickhead at a party and getting a little bit drunk and pashing a guy that I was like, would never. Never. And everyone was there, like, everyone. So then that's all anybody could talk about for the next 3 weeks. It's like, did you see it? Like, even now, it was so long ago, I don't even remember the guy's name, but I like,
I can't remember kissing anyone in high school. I feel like I didn't. I don't think I got my first... Oh no, I did kiss this one girl, but that was it. Like, I don't think that I was...
and that was it. And I never kissed another girl after that.
Well, no, I've decided now that I'm like, based on that one kiss, I'm like, girls are better kissers than guys. But it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything to me. I'm like, that's just the way it is for her.
It's just nature, is it? It's just nature. Well, you obviously didn't drink too much at a party then in high school.
Not until not until I was 16. I started very late.
That's not late. This was when I was in year 12 or 11. It was at that school, so I know that much. But
how old are you? 12, 18. Oh, it's different in Adelaide, isn't it?
I was 17. Yeah. I turned 18 in the February after I finished. So all the partying that happened after year 12 was probably not meant to happen.
I remember that we had this kind of monologue day, like for year 10, and my monologue was I dressed up in a bathrobe, and I was a woman, like I was a mum getting ready for work, and I was just like complaining about all the different things that I have to do to get ready to start my day, to do a job that I hate. And I remember not really preparing very well for that monologue because I was thinking so much about, like, how do I pretend to be a woman, that I actually didn't learn the script.
You spent so much time on the character.
Yeah. I could have improvised something based on the character that I learned and written my whole new thing, but when it came to the script... and then I did it, and the drama teacher loved me, and so I got good marks because of, do you call that nepotism, or do you have to be related to that?
I think you have to be related, but I get favoritism, maybe. Yeah. Maybe not. Favoritism. Maybe besties. Yeah.
And we all sat in a circle. I definitely failed because halfway through I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. And I had this bowl of water and I was just kind of like, and then I wake up on my face. And it was just like, I don't remember. Nothing made sense. It didn't make contextual sense. Anyway, at the end of the the year, she got us all to sit in a circle, and she was like having an emotional, like, thank you all so much for being in the class. I want to go around. I'm just going to give you all a little uplifting talk because this is also my last year at the school. And I was like, neat. And she went to me and she goes to this guy next to me, for example, and she'd go, you're very talented. I'm so glad that you've been part of the really generic stuff. And then she goes to me and she goes, Joseph, you are so sweet. You're so lovely. Every day teaching you has been a pleasure. Like 5 minutes later. And then she goes, and I'm sure we can all agree that you were superior. Superior, and like my eyes are like running marathons. I'm like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And we kind of left the class and they were all
Is
like,
that at primary school or high
yeah,
school?
this is high school.
Oh.
And after we left, everyone was like, superior. I was like, that's my new.
Yes, actually.
This is where my sense of self-importance has all stemmed from.
Yeah, I wouldn't pick you for someone who's self-important at all.
That's because
No.
I'm so humble and perfect.
It's the persona that you put over. Yeah, see, you're humble, which is perfect, which is self-important that you're so perfect. But
Like,
don't you think though, if you just have one teacher who believes in you, like fully believes in you,
yeah,
it changes how you see yourself in the whole world. Like, I just think it's so important for someone to, when you have that one good teacher that
yeah.
like, yeah.
And they really understand you.
Yes.
Like, I don't know, did you feel like any identity crisis when you were, is crises plural?
Yeah.
God, why am I'm just going off with the stupid, like, proving my education.
I bring
Lucky
it
I haven't
out
said
in
the
you.
school name.
Do I bring it out in you? The difficulty in speech?
Speeching.
In speeching, I think I'm still having an identity crisis.
I didn't
today.
trigger it by having that whole, like, what defines you? Like, you're a mother or you're a you? Or you?
Which one are you?
Yeah.
Can't you be the same thing?
Like,
Because
both, yeah.
I think, yeah, like I had a good time in primary school and I don't think I really overthought it then. And then in high school, it was all that, where do I fit? And, you know, what clothes do I wear for the people that I'm hanging out with? Like, I don't know what clothes I like wearing. It's all, I'm like, I like what she's wearing and I like it on her, but I would look like a dickhead if I wore that. Like, I still,
I feel that.
So I end up wearing, I don't know, I'm very generic, but I don't know that my personality is generic or that I am that. I don't know. And I've been through so many, like I went through high school and I got into uni and I went for a semester and I hated its guts. And so I went overseas and I danced and I did stuff. And then I came back and I was like, no, now you have to get a real job. Like, now you actually have to earn money. So I did that for a while, but I never really enjoyed it. I just was naturally good at some stuff. So I just did that. And then I got married and my sister finished high school. So she was going to uni and I was like, maybe I'll do that, but I'll do something different this time. So we both started uni at the same time, my sister and I. And then I had babies. And I kept going to uni. I had another baby and then I kept going to uni and then I just couldn't anymore because I had 2 babies and it was hectic. And so I thought I would defer. And that was, well, my oldest is 13. So it was 10 or so years ago. I was really good at uni too. Like, I was the researching stuff and I was getting high distinctions for stuff, but I wasn't, like, nothing was meaning anything.
You weren't passionate about it. It was just kind of like you're doing it and you're succeeding in it, but you're not. It's not fulfilling.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I think I'm still, and then we moved to WA and I made this great group of friends through gym and doing weightlifting and I felt like Wonder Woman, and I felt amazing. And then we moved to Melbourne and I didn't do weightlifting and then I do theatre again. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. That's who I am. Like, I remember now from 20 years before. And yeah, but even still, I think my identity crisis is like just continues through my whole life, maybe. I don't know.
I think it's, this is just what I'm taking from it. You can disagree, obviously. Because sometimes people view life in this really regimented way, like the way you did kind of tell the stories, like, and most people do kind of tell the story of their life like this is like, you go to school, you go to high school, you get a job, you have kids, or somewhere in there you've got to find someone to have the kids with. You just have them. No, it's all very like, you need to study and then you need to do this, but most of it is very like intertwined. And I reckon like I like to visualize things in this kind of a way that's like potentially some people kind of lose themselves in the little gaps that are between these kind of segments. That's like, because you've got this structure and you've got this regimented view of what's happening, that sometimes you go like I was in primary school and then I was in high school. There's this little gap here. Everyone's forgotten about it, but that's kind of like a in that kind of a gap, you'll have this identity crisis there because you've finished one and you're going to the other, but you don't actually take the time to fix that because you're already in the next structured plan. Yeah. But even when if you're like relating back to what you're saying, if it's kind of like you were in Adelaide doing weightlifting. I'm really sorry if I've got that wrong. Was it Adelaide?
That's right, WA, in Perth.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
In Perth, sorry.
Yeah. That's right.
And you're doing the weightlifting there, and then you move, and then you suddenly leave that. That's obviously gonna cause like crap, tension. I don't know. And then you're going to a whole new community, like, and you've like rediscovered yourself now that you're finally you're actively engaging yourself in a community, or you're a new group. That's how you view yourself. Like in that period of time, do you feel like you took the time to be like, actually what was there is carrying over, like that's still me and this is still me? Or do you view that you're a different person when you're doing this task and you're a different person doing this task?
No, yeah, I see what you mean. It's definitely, yeah, it's still me. And also the me that I bring now is, now I have word problems.
No, that's all right. That's all right.
But it's the who I am now has got parts of that in it, which is going to be a different me than it would have been had I not gone through that experience as well. Yeah. So it's all me, but yeah.
Do you feel like it's a different you because you feel people are viewing you a different way? Or do you feel like it's literally like it's a different you because you have a different perception,
yeah.
English.
I reckon it's a bit of both, because similarly, what I said to you in the Guys and Dolls rehearsals about being a mum, when I went weightlifting, a lot of the people I met in the gym didn't know I had kids initially. So I was viewed in this different way then. Also, I was really fit and I felt good in my body and everything. So I probably had this bit more confident persona. And then how I feel like I'm viewed now, which could be all in my head, is not a fit, confident person, but there's just a frumpy mum. But that it's honestly goes through my mind. So
if anything I've said has like led to you, like you're thinking that I view you as that, then I'm like, no, that's not how I view you.
And that's why I said it could be in my head too, because it's my own insecurities with the fact that I left that behind, and that fit person, you were talking about the lunges and stuff before, and I was like, oh my God, that sounds like hell. But I used to deadlift 140 kilos and be like, look at me. So yeah, I feel like there's a little bit of mourning of that person who still makes me who I am now, but I can't do the things that I could do then. So so maybe people don't look at me differently. I just make up that they do.
No, I get that. That kind of that was a lot better articulated than any way that I could. It's about kind of like, it's there, but you kind of I like what you said about mourning the person that you were at the time, like or that image of the person.
The image is
capturing.
Yes.
I feel like I go through phases of friendship groups and whatever, because it's the same as like doing different shows. I always have a different person to go to, and I've never really had I say this kind of lightly, but I've never really had a best friend that has stuck for a long period of time. It's always just it's always new people coming and going, and therefore I feel like a lot of the chapters in my life kind of just blend together, and they're like,
Yeah.
and I don't
Do you
feel that.
feel sad about that sometimes, about not having that? But like sometimes I look at other people and think they have this relationship with one or two people, and it's really secure, and they talk, and I think, oh, I had a best friend. You know, the friend I was talking about that I lived near, and we grew up
Yeah,
walking to school and stuff. I had her all the way through into my 20s. So from the time I was in nappies walking down the street, and our parents would chat, all the way through into my 20s. And then things just went weird. Weirdly, she called me the other day for the first time in 10 years, but that's, she was my best friend. So I had all these other friendships that would, you know, like you were saying, these waves of friendships, but she was always there. And we had this weird sense of humor that both her and I got, and it didn't seem like anyone else in the world got it. And then, yeah, things changed a lot. And she could never articulate to me what was wrong. I was like, just talk to me. If I've done something to offend you, you need to, I'm obviously oblivious. Let's communicate so I can be better, do better, whatever. And it never happened. And so she just was gone out of my life. And ever since then, I haven't had a person. And quite often, especially moving states, and I think, well, I want to be somebody's, I want to chat to people, like someone special, that we've got that special something as friends. Yes, I've got my husband and I'm super grateful for that, but it's not the same thing as friendship. Yeah,
a pure friendship that is like best friend. I get that. Like a relationship should feel like a friendship, obviously, but yeah, it's not the same, and you've got to have kind of someone in the external that you can go to and talk about what you need to talk about, that doesn't have the context, but that as much context, because they're separated. I don't feel the sadness.
That's good.
I don't think I do. I might now.
Sorry.
No.
No, but I also wonder too if it's because I have this anxiety that people, like, I'm sure people don't even think about me when I'm not in their face, you know, but I think maybe they think that I've got my life all together, so I don't need them bugging me, or I don't need to be invited to this thing or that thing, but maybe they're just not thinking about me at all. Like, it's just,
I get that.
And
I think sometimes it's easy to think that people are either, I sometimes find it hard to separate whether people are not thinking about me, or if they're thinking about me and then deciding not to invite me or like hang out with me or talk to me. But, that doesn't sadden me either, because I think, well, I do that too. So
yeah, that's true. It's good.
Yeah.
It's a good way of thinking about it.
When it comes to friendships, I have this kind of weird thing that's kind of like, I feel very often misunderstood, and I don't feel often that people actually get what's going on in here, because I feel really, really disconnected to most people, because I don't feel like I think the same way as a lot of people, and that's like a me issue. That's not a other people issue.
Other people, yeah.
But I think that that's what kind of prevents me in my relationships, because I always kind of keep people at an arm's length, because as soon as I start feeling that someone's boxing me in a category or saying this is the way you are, I'll be like, I'll have a kind of think, and I'll be like, is that the way I am? And if I agree with that is the way that I am, I'm like, I'll like kind of let you a bit closer. But if they're kind of like, this is the way you are and it's not the way I am, I'm kind of like, I take a step back, and I'm like, I can't relate.
Do you feel like people put you in a box often? Like, do you often feel that?
I do often feel it. I think that, like, I think that I have a good grasp of people with a really good, people with a good emotional intelligence. I'll be kind of like, they kind of understand where I'm coming from, because they can grasp the fact that people are not two-dimensional. Like, people have layers and layers, and everyone behaves differently and in different circumstances, and you can't say that you, like, I couldn't say in any situation that oh well, Kell always behaves like this, so if this happened she'd probably just be like this.
Yeah.
You can't always, you can't do that. I don't think you should. I can kind of make an assumption and be like, oh, I think that they might be this and this, but a lot of people use certainty in their language, especially when talking about other people's personalities, and that bothers me. And when I hear it being done about me, I immediately draw it to like a poor emotional intelligence. I'll be kind of like, I don't think that you are understanding that person, and I don't think that you're understanding me. Does that make sense, or is that kind of like
yeah, no, it does. And I do the same thing. If I hear they're not talking about me, but the way they might be talking about somebody else, and I think, well, if that's what you're perceiving, then you're not seeing everything, which means you're probably doing the same to me. And then I do put a bit of a wall up, and yeah.
As for, sorry, you asked before, you're like, oh, do you feel like you're boxed up? And I do, because like, let's say when we were doing Guys and Dolls, and it's in all my theatre experiences and all these like large group situations, I kind of become a bit of a clown, and I'll be kind of like, and then I kind of, that's the way that people view me. But then like realistically, like you do get into a conversation with me one-on-one or like this, and I feel like I'm a very different person to how you will see me in any other situation, kind of thing. And I would say that now I am coming to terms with kind of who I am, because, you know, I'm only 24. I'm going to have to start like easing down on that and learning how to cope in not getting overwhelmed with like large groups of people. So funny. A lot of the time I have to go through this whole thing that's like, oh, am I, because I get like overwhelmed in large groups, and I get overwhelmed with like sensory overload kind of thing. I was like, oh my god, do I have like Asperger's, autism? What's wrong? Now I'm like, I got informed by a friend. He's like, hey, like you have all of these symptoms that kind of lead me to assume that you may have ADHD, and I think that might be good for you to get an assessment. And I was like, okay, I will. So now I'm going to get an assessment, and I'm going to have a look, and I'm going to be like that. And I think that explains a lot of the
I saw a really awesome TED talk about ADHD. If you do go down that part, like it was just so, because sometimes you feel like all these thoughts and there's something wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just the way that you are in the world doesn't mean there's anything like what's right, what's the norm, like why is that normal? But I think it's awesome self-awareness if you, like, you're only 24 and you've got such a high level of emotional intelligence already. Like I go through stages, and I think about myself at 24, and I felt like I was a pretty empathetic person and open, and you know, I'm one of the least judgmental, I would hope, people around. But now, like since then, I've learnt more and more and more about myself and what I perceive in the world. And the thing I do find hard is when other people don't have that, and it really, I try and talk to people and try and guide, you know, in a way that doesn't seem like lecturing, just, hey, what about if you thought about this? And like Dave says it to me, he goes, you always come up because somebody did something, you know, that we disagree with. I was like, oh, maybe they had a really bad morning, or maybe it's like, or maybe they're just a dickhead. Like maybe they're just an asshole. Yeah, but maybe they're not. Like I've been horrible sometimes because I'm depressed or like going through a real hard time, and I'm just like not nice. But it's not because I'm not nice. It's because, you know, something was going on in that moment. Yeah,
I really value that in a person, to kind of give that a bit of back thought, to think like what kind of situation might they be going through that might have caused that behavior or whatever. So I think that's a really valuable trait to have. But I don't, I think there is eventually at some point that you just got to be kind of like, oh, that person's just dick. Like,
sometimes they are just a dick. but they do exist too.
I'm only recently kind of like, my whole thing now is just to, I am learning to be a bit of a dick. Learning to be a dick when the time is right.
When it's right.
And it's kind of like empowering. It's bad. I don't know. I'm trying to like test the waters. I feel like most people do that as teenagers.
In what way? In being a dick, in like dropping a little comment here and there, or being really really confident, or what kind of, yeah.
In a way that if someone is behaving in a way that I'm like, what, like, shutting down crappy behavior, you can't do that by being, you can't do that with kindness a lot of the time.
No,
it's got to be like right in the moment, just be like, bah.
Yep.
Just
I think I'm still learning that, but it is important. There's times where it's important to just be really stern and like,
assertive.
Enough of your shit. You need to stop now. Yeah.
Who were really good at that? Teachers, any form of coach, anyone that deals with like a large group of children, especially, is like, like bam, and then you start realizing that adults are just children as well, and
yeah, but there's a way to do it. There's some directors I've experienced that maybe need some lessons on that, and then there's some who get it. Yeah.
When it's gone. What do you feel like is your best quality as a person? Like, do you hate this question? I do, but I've asked.
Yes. You're going to go into HR or something and like recruit people for jobs and ask these questions where they have to talk about their best trait, and then you say, and what would be your worst trait? You're like, not knowing when to like say no.
Working too hard.
Best trait. You know what? I would say what we were just talking about, that being
emotional intelligence,
like being I think too, a lot of my life experiences with different cultures and different demographics, and my mum's worked in an Aboriginal college and she's also worked in prisons, and I don't have any feelings. I do have feelings. I don't have any negative feelings about any groups of people, like, and I do tend to, in all the states, I do tend to end up having people gravitate towards me. A lot of people that have come from other countries, quite a few, like people from Iran in both WA and here in Victoria, and I think that is because of that. And just
because I'm just so warmth to you and an openness.
That's nice.
You are very warm and you're a very open person. You're very easy to get along with. The moment that, like, I feel like you're the kind of person who, if I was on a train and I was like not feeling safe, then I'd just see you and you would you'd hate me, but I would just end up sitting next to you and you'd be like, now I have to
You see, but I wouldn't hate you. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Oh, okay. You're not like me at all. Because I feel like sometimes I'm like, why are they sitting next to me? Why?
Well, okay, if it was a train where there were heaps of spare seats and you came and sat right next to me and just didn't speak, then maybe I wouldn't hate you, but I'd be like, what is going on here? But
I think if I was a stranger, I think I'd do that at you, because a lot of the time I do this tactical thing on trains and I'll be like, all right, this is going to be packed. Pick someone safe now so you don't have to deal with someone dangerous later.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
I'm
a safe house.
Yeah.
But I think that's nice. If I can be somebody's safe house, I'm all right with that. That's nice.
And I really value that in you. And I've also really valued this conversation that we've had. I really appreciate it.
Been awesome.
Thank you. I've learned more about you than I think I learned in all those few months that we had the show. So I really appreciate that.
Thanks for asking to talk to me. I feel like a human today.
Yeah, you're totally a human. All right. Bye.
Bye.